Surprise, surprise. The woman who is better than Warren Buffett and basically any other hedge fund manager, Nancy Pelosi, has accrued millions of dollars from her husband's trades of the stock market. So, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's net worth has ballooned since the 2008 financial crisis with the help of her husband's lucrative stock trades, a report said. Pelosi, who recently backed a ban on trading for lawmakers and senior government officials, has seen her assets increase by a hefty $140 million, according to the Washington Free Beacon. By the way, personally, if I were to ever make $140 million, all I would probably do at that point is like go to sleep, eat pizza, and play games. And probably drive supercars. Because like at that point of like that type of wealth is like what do you even do with your time anymore? Because you don't need to actually do anything with your time. And what's crazy to me is like I don't understand how corrupt politicians constantly need to get more corrupt to get more money when like after you pay basically everything off, after you have money in the bank, after you have money in investments that will literally last a lifetime for you and your family and your descendants forever, why do you keep going down this bad path? Like it literally does not make sense to me. The Speaker, one of the richest members of Congress, has vehemently denied sharing any information with her spouse, a venture capitalist. Now, here's the funny thing, too, right? She could also claim, like, oh, I didn't say anything to him. I didn't mention anything to him, but maybe when I'm asleep, maybe I got like sleep apnea or something, and like as I'm choking on my throat or whatever, like on my tongue while I'm sleeping, every time I like choke and breathe for air, I just like let out like, oh, uh, this company's about to crash. Like we're about to like screw this company. We're about to screw this sector. Oh, we're gonna bump up this sector, as I'm like barely surviving in my sleep or something. It's just like it's just so stupid. Like this whole thing is so stupid. And here's the thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with basically let's see, no, 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 with like lawmakers or like senior government officials getting involved in the stock market if they were to go into index funds, right? So basically, if they just put their money into like basically the S&P 500 or like a total stock market index fund or basically a dividend index fund, like a high dividend index fund, or like specific sectors, I would not care, right? The problem that I have is that there's so many of these government officials, these politicians that are specifically involved in individual stocks of companies that are going to be directly affected pretty much immediately by the decisions they make through laws that they pass and decide on. That's what I have a problem with. However, many have questioned trades made by Paul Pelosi that happen to coincide with major congressional decisions. In June, he exercised call options to purchase up to $5 million in the graphics card manufacturer Nvidia just weeks before the House considered a bill to provide more than $50 billion in subsidies to domestic semiconductor manufacturers, the Beacon said. He also bought up Tesla stock in March as his wife pushed for electric vehicle subsidies. Pelosi's 2021 net worth is estimated at $171.4 million, according to numbers reported in her financial disclosure statement, the Free Beacon reported. Her exact value is unknown as members of Congress are not required to report exact dollar amounts and instead report a range of values, which is so crazy. It's like, oh, I might have like 50 million to 100 million. I might have 100 million to 200 million. Oh, I might actually really truly have like $500 million, like $500 million, but who knows, you know? Ba, 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 ba. The speaker was recently slammed by a Democratic colleague for failing to get the bill that would ban lawmakers from trading stock while in office pushed through Congress. This moment marks a failure of House leadership and is yet another example why I believe that the Democratic Party needs new leaders in the halls of Capitol Hill. As I have long made known, the sponsor of the bill, Rep. Abigail Spanberger, said, and Pelosi has faced mounting bipartisan pressure to move the legislation forward, with critics pointing to her husband's stock trades as a potential conflict of interest, which is a pretty reasonable point, right? Like, there's a lot of potential issues of this being like insider trading, right? Like, it's just, it's so bad. Because the thing is, if any normal citizen basically was doing what her and her husband were doing, allegedly, they would be in prison for a very long time and also lose all the money, which is crazy. And a lot of people don't really understand why this is such a big deal because you have to think of it like this. I mean, if you've ever played Grand Theft Auto ever in your life, within that game, you could do things to companies directly, immediately causing a fluctuation, a massive fluctuation in the stock price, right, of that company. And you could literally just basically, with a press of a button in a sense, turn like $1,000 into $1 million, turn $1 million into $10 million, turn $10 million into $100 million, right? With just like a push of a button, which is basically what they're doing. Just because they know pretty much what is going to go down, when it's going to go down, right? They also end up basically voting on things to where they could potentially have direct impact on specific companies. Like, the amount of power this actually is and how quick it is for them to actually end up gaining wealth and power through this method is insane, right? If you knew that given enough time, you could pretty much, like, 10 times, 20 times the amount of money in your bank account, you'd probably do it, right? And you'd probably do whatever it took to get that, right? And you could just keep repeating it over and over and over. Like, if you knew that there was nothing going to happen to you, and you could just keep on doubling, 10xing, 20xing your bank account, your investments, the amount of money that you actually have, you're going to keep on doing it nonstop. And the amount of influence that you could impose with the wealth that you generate through that method is insane. Like, it doesn't take much to basically buy people's opinion, right? It doesn't take much to basically sway things the way that you want to be swayed, right? I mean, just look at the whole Alec Baldwin Rust shooting situation, right? He basically bought himself a get out of jail like ticket, pretty much, right? Which is insane. Like, you shoot someone, they die, you don't go to jail. Like, that's crazy. But this is basically what Nancy Pelosi could probably even do too, and not really have anything done to her. Same thing with her husband. I mean, yeah, her husband, you know, basically had to deal with the DUI charge, but like, what's actually going to happen to him? Probably nothing because the sheer amount of money that they actually have, right? They could hire the best lawyers. They could basically pay a lot of money to protect him, right? Or just pay like a really like nice chunk of money to basically settle with the state and just move on, which is crazy. I don't know. Feel free to give your thoughts on this. Like, I really dislike seeing politicians doing something that would that if a normal citizen of the United States were to do what they're doing would face prison time. That is very troubling to me because it's like it just shows you that everyday citizens, regardless of the income, are basically lower class people in a sense, right? Because we are not basically these elites, regardless of the amount of money that we have in our bank, we're pretty much screwed. We're pretty much viewed as like cockroaches, which is insane. But that's basically the situation. Because I mean, they just keep getting away with highly illegal stuff. But the normal citizen, if they even did like a fraction of what they did by accident, they're screwed for life. Absolutely crazy. By the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money and grow your net worth in a legal way, not like what they're doing, allegedly, go down below and learn how I got out of debt and grew my net worth. And yeah, see you in future episodes.